Kyle, bow down to me. The words echo through Providence Municipal Court like a sermon gone wrong. Father Gregory Hartwell, 52 years old, stands at the defendant's table in full clerical collar, black suit, silver cross hanging over his chest. He points at Judge Frank Caprio like he's delivering divine judgment. Judge Caprio stops mid-sentence. He sets down his pen. Slowly, deliberately. He removes his glasses and folds them on the bench. 10 seconds pass. 15. The courtroom is frozen. Father Hartwell, repeat what you just said. I said you'll bow down to me. I am a man of God. You are a civil servant. In the eyes of the Lord, you answer to me, not the other way around. Judge Caprio's expression doesn't change. He picks up the case file. 563 pages. He reads the first page in silence, then the second. 30 seconds. 45. Father Hartwell shifts his weight, adjusts his collar. Finally, Judge Caprio looks up. Father Hartwell, I answer to the law answers to the people. And today you answer to both. Miss Lewis, read the charges. Court Clerk Deborah Lewis stands, voice steady despite the tension. Case 2024 CR 7841, State of Rhode Island versus Gregory Michael Hartwell. Charges: sexual assault of a minor, child endangerment, obstruction of justice, witness intimidation, and abuse of ecclesiastical authority. Father Hartwell doesn't flinch. His hands remain folded. His expression serene, almost pitying, like he's watching children who don't understand God's plan. Subscribe if you believe religious authority should never be used to hide crimes. Judge Caprio leans forward. Father Hartwell, how do you plead? Not guilty. These accusations are persecution. The church has always been targeted by those who fear righteousness. You are simply the latest instrument of that fear. I'm not an instrument, Father. I'm a judge. And today we'll determine if you're a man of God or a predator in a collar. He turns to the prosecution table. Mr. Chen, call your first witness. Assistant District Attorney Michael Chen stands, holding a folder that looks heavy with evidence. The state calls Detective Melissa Torres, Rhode Island State Police Special Victims Unit. A woman in her early 40s approaches the stand, business suit, badge on her belt, the careful composure of someone who's seen humanity's worst. She's sworn in. Detective Torres, how long have you worked in special victims? 14 years. I specialize in cases involving child sexual abuse, particularly within institutional settings. You investigated Father Hartwell? Yes. The investigation began on March 3rd, when a former altar server, now 19 years old, filed a report alleging he'd been sexually abused by Father Hartwell between ages 12 and 15 at St. Michael's Parish in Cranston. The courtroom goes absolutely silent. Father Hartwell's expression remains unchanged, serene, almost bored. What did the victim, whom we'll call John Doe to protect his identity, tell you? Detective Torres pulls out her report. He stated that Father Hartwell began grooming him when he was 11 years old. Small gestures at first, extra attention, gifts, invitations to private meetings in the rectory. By age 12, the abuse became physical. Father Hartwell told him it was God's love, and that revealing it would be a sin that would condemn his family to hell. Someone in the gallery gasps. Judge Caprio raises a hand. Silence returns. The abuse continued for 3 years. Father Hartwell used his position of spiritual authority to ensure silence. He told John Doe that priests were God's representatives on earth and that questioning them was the same as questioning God. Chen nods. Did John Doe report the abuse during those 3 years? No, he was terrified. Father Hartwell had convinced him that speaking out would destroy his family's souls. When John finally told his parents at age 15, Father Hartwell was immediately transferred to another parish. Transferred, not arrested. Correct, the Archdiocese handled it internally. Father Hartwell was sent to St. Catherine's in Warwick with a warning. No criminal charges were filed. John Doe's family was told it would be handled through the church. Judge Caprio's jaw tightens. Detective Torres, did you investigate Father Hartwell's time at St. Catherine's? Yes, Your Honor. We discovered 4 additional victims, ages 11 to 14, who reported similar abuse between 2019 and 2024. Same pattern: grooming, spiritual manipulation, threats of damnation for speaking out. The courtroom erupts in murmurs. Judge Caprio raises his hand. Instant silence. 5 victims total. That we've identified so far, Your Honor. We believe there may be more who haven't come forward. Chen picks up another document. Detective Torres, what happened when you attempted to arrest Father Hartwell? On March 15th, we executed an arrest warrant at St. Catherine's Rectory. Father Hartwell refused to comply. He stated, and I quote, "You have no authority over me. I answer only to God and the Archbishop. This is persecution of the faithful." Did he resist physically? Yes. When we attempted to place him in handcuffs, he pushed Officer Ramirez. We had to restrain him. He continued shouting that we were violating sacred law and would face divine judgment. What else did you recover during the search? Detective Torres's voice hardens. In his private office, we found a locked filing cabinet containing photographs of altar servers. Some were innocent. Group photos. Communion pictures. Others were concerning. Close-ups of specific boys taken without their knowledge. We also found a journal documenting his spiritual relationships with boys over the past 15 years. He described them in disturbingly intimate detail. Father Hartwell finally reacts. His serene expression cracks slightly. Those journals are private spiritual reflections protected by ecclesiastical privilege. Father Hartwell, you are not to speak unless spoken to. Judge Caprio's voice cuts like ice. Continue, Detective Torres. We also found text messages between Father Hartwell and multiple victims. In these messages, he explicitly told them not to speak to police, threatened them with spiritual consequences, and in one case, told a victim's mother that her son was troubled and lying when she confronted him. Chen nods. Your Honor, the state would like to call John Doe to testify. Judge Caprio looks at the gallery. Is John Doe present and willing? A young man stands slowly. 19 years old, thin dark circles under his eyes. He approaches the witness stand like he's walking toward a cliff edge. He's sworn in. His hand shakes, holding the Bible. John, I know this is difficult. Chen begins gently. Can you tell the court when you first met Father Hartwell? John's voice is barely audible. I was 11. My family just joined St. Michael's. He seemed nice. He paid attention to me. My dad worked 2 jobs. My mom was always tired. Father Hartwell had time. He made me feel special. When did that change? When I was 12. He started inviting me to the rectory after Mass. Said I was mature for my age. Said God had chosen me for something special. Then one day John's voice breaks. Judge Caprio leans forward, voice gentle. Take your time, son. John swallows hard. He touched me. He said it was how God showed love to his chosen ones. He said priests were closer to God, and sharing their love was a blessing. I didn't understand. I was 12. I trusted him. Tears streamed down John's face. It happened so many times, every week, sometimes more. He told me I couldn't tell anyone because they wouldn't understand God's plan. He said if I told, my parents would go to hell. He said I'd be responsible for damning my whole family. When did you finally tell someone? When I was 15, I couldn't take it anymore. I told my mum. She called the church immediately. They said they'd handle it. Father Hartwell was transferred. My mom said it was over. But it wasn't over for me. I still have nightmares. I still can't go to church. I still feel like it was my fault. John looks directly at Father Hartwell. You told me you were God's representative. You told me I was special. You told me it was love. You lied. You're not a man of God. You're a predator in a costume. Father Hartwell's face flushes. He stands. That is blasphemy. I was ministering to a troubled child. Sit down! Judge Caprio's voice cracks through the courtroom like thunder. Bailiff, if he stands again without permission, restrain him. Father Hartwell sits, breathing hard, hands gripping the table. Judge Caprio turns to John. Thank you for your courage, son. What you've described is not ministry. It's abuse. You are not responsible. He is. Please sit. John walks back to his seat where his mother wraps him in her arms. Both are crying. Chen calls his next witness. The state calls Dr. Rachel Morrison, licensed clinical psychologist specializing in childhood trauma. Dr. Morrison takes the stand, 50s, professional but warm. I've evaluated John Doe and 3 of the other victims. All exhibit symptoms consistent with childhood sexual abuse, PTSD, dissociative episodes, difficulty with trust and intimacy, religious trauma, and suicidal ideation. 2 have attempted suicide. 1 is in ongoing residential treatment. In your professional opinion, what role did Father Hartwell's religious authority play? It was the primary tool of manipulation. Children are taught from birth to trust religious leaders. They're told priests speak for God. When a priest tells a child that abuse is God's love or that speaking out will damn their family, the child has no framework to resist. It's spiritual captivity combined with physical abuse. The damage is profound and often permanent. Chen picks up a stack of documents. Your Honor, the state has statements from 4 additional victims. All describe identical patterns: grooming through spiritual attention, escalation to physical abuse, threats of damnation for disclosure, and profound psychological trauma. Judge Caprio reviews the documents in silence. When he looks up, his expression is harder than anyone has seen. Father Hartwell, stand up. Father Hartwell stands slowly. His earlier arrogance is gone, replaced by something between fear and defiance. You told me I would bow down to you. You said I answer to you as a man of God. Let me be clear. I don't answer to you. Those 5 boys you abused don't answer to you. And God, if he exists the way you claim, certainly doesn't answer to you. Father Hartwell's lips tremble. Your Honor, I devoted my life to the church. You devoted your life to access. The collar gave you trust. The rectory gave you privacy. The doctrine gave you weapons. You didn't serve God. You used him as a cover story while you destroyed children. Judge Caprio opens the verdict document. Based on Detective Torres's testimony, John Doe's statement, Dr. Morrison's expert analysis, the journal evidence, text message documentation, and statements from 4 additional victims, I find you guilty on all charges: sexual assault of a minor, child endangerment, obstruction of justice, witness intimidation, and abuse of ecclesiastical authority. Father Hartwell's legs buckle. He grabs the table. Sentencing: sexual assault of 5 minors, 20 years per victim, consecutive. 100 years, Rhode Island Department of Corrections. Child endangerment, 10 years concurrent. Obstruction, 5 years concurrent. Witness intimidation, 5 years concurrent. Abuse of ecclesiastical authority, 10 years consecutive. Total sentence, 110 years incarceration. The courtroom gasps. Father Hartwell collapses into his chair. You will never be eligible for parole. You will die in prison. And before you claim persecution, understand this: you aren't being punished for your faith. You're being punished for using faith as a weapon against children. Judge Caprio leans forward. You told me I'd bow down to you. Here's what happens instead. I'm recommending to the Rhode Island General Assembly that abuse by clergy carry automatic enhanced sentencing. I'm recommending mandatory reporting laws with criminal penalties for church officials who transfer accused priests instead of reporting them. I'm recommending that ecclesiastical privilege never apply in cases involving child abuse. And I'm recommending that any religious leader convicted of child abuse forfeit all pension and benefits. He picks up another document. These reforms will be called the John Doe Protection Act. Your crimes, your spiritual manipulation, your belief that religious authority places you above the law will be cited in every legislative hearing. Your journal entries will be read aloud. Your text messages will be displayed. You will be the example of why faith can never excuse abuse. Father Hartwell is weeping now, head in his hands. Finally, you told me I answer to you. I don't. I answer to those 5 boys whose childhoods you stole. I answer to every parent who trusted you with their child. I answer to every person of genuine faith whose religion you've poisoned with your crimes. Judge Caprio's voice drops. And if there is a God, Father Hartwell, you'll answer to him, not the other way around. He closes the file. Bailiff, remand the defendant to custody immediately. No bail. Transport to ACI maximum security. Place him in protective custody. I suspect his fellow inmates will have strong opinions about child predators in collars. 2 bailiffs approach. Father Hartwell looks up, desperate. Your Honor, please. The other inmates will kill me. You should have thought about that before you told 5 children that speaking out would damn their families. Judge Caprio's expression is granite. Take him away. The bailiffs guide Father Hartwell toward the door. He passes John Doe. John doesn't look away. Father Hartwell drops his gaze first. The door closes. He's gone. If you believe clergy who abuse children should receive automatic life sentences, subscribe to order in the court. Judge Caprio turns to John and his mother. What Father Hartwell did to you was evil. Not in the supernatural sense, in the human sense. Evil is when someone uses power and trust to harm the powerless. He used his collar as a weapon. You survived. You came forward. You saved other children from him. That's courage most adults don't have. John's mother stands. Thank you, Your Honor. Judge Caprio nods. Get your son into good therapy. Make sure he knows none of this was his fault. And tell him that speaking his truth today probably saved lives. That matters. 6 months later, Gregory Hartwell sits in ACI maximum security, segregated housing unit, cell 8B. Brown prison uniform. No collar, no cross. Protective custody means 23 hours a day in his cell. The other inmates know what he did. Guards have stopped 3 separate attempts on his life. His appeals were denied. All of them. Courts found the evidence overwhelming, the sentence appropriate. The Archdiocese released a statement condemning his actions and promising reform. 6 more victims have come forward since the trial. The investigation continues. John Doe completed intensive trauma therapy. He's enrolled at Community College of Rhode Island, studying social work. He wants to help other survivors. He still has nightmares. He still struggles with trust. But he's building a life beyond what Father Hartwell tried to destroy. Judge Caprio's reforms passed with unanimous bipartisan support. The John Doe Protection Act became law in September. Clergy abuse now carries automatic enhanced sentencing, minimum 25 years per victim. Mandatory reporting is now criminal law. Any church official who fails to report suspected abuse faces 5 years imprisonment. Ecclesiastical privilege no longer applies in child abuse cases. Convicted clergy forfeit all pensions and benefits. 18 other states are reviewing similar legislation. Father Hartwell's journal entries, his statement, "You'll bow down to me," and his 110-year sentence are cited in every hearing as proof that faith cannot shield predators. Year 10. Father Hartwell is now 62. He served 10 years of his 110-year sentence. He'll die in prison. No possibility of parole. No early release. He works in the prison laundry. He attends Mass led by volunteer chaplains who know exactly what he did. He sits in the back, alone, always alone. John Doe is now 29. He earned his bachelor's in social work. He runs a non-profit supporting survivors of clergy abuse. He's testified before Congress twice on mandatory reporting laws. He's engaged to be married. He still has hard days, but he has good ones too. The other 4 identified victims are at various stages of healing. 2 are in therapy. 1 successfully sued the Archdiocese. 1 moved out of state to start over. All of them know Father Hartwell will never hurt anyone again. Judge Frank Caprio, reviewing case files 15 years later, pulls the Hartwell folder occasionally. He reads the opening statement, "You'll bow down to me." He reads his response, "I don't answer to you. I answer to those 5 boys whose childhoods you stole." Gregory Hartwell believed his collar made him untouchable. He believed religious authority placed him above civil law. He believed Judge Caprio would bow. He was wrong about everything. "You'll bow down to me," he'd said, pointing like a prophet delivering judgment. Judge Caprio never bowed, and Father Hartwell will spend the rest of his life in a cell, no collar, no cross, no children to manipulate, learning that faith without accountability is just another word for tyranny. Should clergy convicted of child abuse automatically receive life sentences regardless of the number of victims? Tell us below.